What we have with Vicki and the team and the CLM model is something that transcends all of that. And so, like I said, the nuances of CLM and being able to adapt to these things, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to turn it over to Cindy to talk about what CLM does for her today in her teaching, and then we'll turn it over to Lizzie so she can give a sibling's perspective, and then we'll go into Julia and allow you to see some of the progress and the wonderful nature and why we're so very proud of the accomplishments that she is at and where she's at in her life. So let me go ahead to the next slide. This is basically a snapshot of the day where I left Pennsylvania and I went to Kuwait. And as you can see, Julia was about 2. And there was a lot of commotion in the Reserve Center. We had fire trucks and motorcycles, and everybody wanted to do a proper send-off. And if you can see off in the corner there, Julia was just overwhelmed by the sensory situation that she found herself in. Not only was her daddy leaving, and so she didn't understand that, but then just the sheer volume of the noise and everything else was just overwhelming. She went over and stood by a tree. And of course, at this time, we had no knowledge whatsoever. I didn't even know what autism was. We didn't know of anything that was wrong with our lives or what was going to be in store for us over the next decade. So during that time of my deployment, I moved the family back to our loving grandparents, Dr. and Mrs. Sines, and they took great pain and care to go through and get things diagnosed and come up with a treatment plan for what has been the last decade. And we were introduced to a pediatric neurologist who coincidentally is the same physician that we see every year. And that's one of the main reasons why we've been able to have consistent care over time. But he recommended us to Tucci Learning Systems. And that is how we came into contact with this wonderful system called CLM. And basically, during this time frame, we did not understand all the nuances of what autism meant. But we were told, and the pediatric neurologist told us very, very clearly, he didn't sugarcoat anything. He said, if you want success, you have to get along with your therapy team, and you must be able to tackle certain things. And of course, we jumped on that and we started taking their advice. So let's go to the next slide. With the Tucci Learning Systems and CLM, Julia tested as a pre-level 1 learner. And so with that, there were all the issues that we encountered, no verbal communication skills, and so we piled onto that. There was transition issues and of course the sensory overload. And the wonderful staff took the time and the care to be able to teach us how to deal with things, because no matter how many coaches or teachers and therapy staff are there, they're not there 24 hours a day. And so it becomes a parent's responsibility to really jump on and learn from the learning that comes with whatever program they're with. And obviously CLM works, and it works for us, and it has definitely worked for the transitions between states. So let's go to the next slide. We developed a methodical process to work with the behavior changes that we were trying to deal with. I'm not sure if you can see that, but we started really with the language training, commanding and active listening, and we learned how to work with the staff. And of course, when we moved back to Pennsylvania, everything changed, but the staff stayed the same. And Vicki graciously worked within the system to work over Skype and iChat and to coach us virtually, where everywhere we went, we had to start over again. I mean, the diagnosis in California wasn't recognized in Pennsylvania. And that was extremely difficult and very unnerving for somebody who was really just trying to make ends meet and make it work. And I don't know how, I mean, I'm an officer, and we were able to do it, but I don't know how a sergeant or a private can do that. And you know, we're indicative of a great situation where things did work out. But this system could definitely be a benefit to the soldiers at large. And obviously, I'm in the Army Reserve, and I represent about 205,000 soldiers across the globe. It's actually larger than the Marine Corps. And you would not believe how many people I come in contact with that have children with special needs. And this system actually works. The staff helped us deal with the sensory issues. Going into being able to stick her hands into water, that was completely unheard of. And so her staff very patiently, calmly helped us deal with those things. And then obviously the fine motor skills over time we've developed and helped work through those. But it really was the reinforcer surveys and positive reinforcement that helped us take behaviors that we didn't really want to see and to create opportunities for more normative behaviors to happen. And so the staff really was the linkage to this. And I really want to do a shout out to some very key people that took us to the next level. And one of those was Valerie Rodriguez, phenomenal teacher. She cared not just for Julia, but also for us as parents. For, you know, we didn't understand what respite was, and she taught us how to do that. Obviously, that becomes a very real challenge when you're dealing with things 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And also, Vicki had us link up with Jane Kim, and phenomenal. Again, over iChat, coached us, mentored us, got us through the very difficult times. And then obviously Kathy, her wonderful encouragement, and knowing that the system can actually transcend Pennsylvania into Virginia. And then when I got my orders to go to Virginia, it was a wonderful time to be a part of the things that were going on within CLM here. So you know, I really am very grateful for them. And then also Dan Hirsch was instrumental in helping us get to the next level. And then Vicki became my supervisor. She convinced me to go ahead and start working towards my own BCBA. And so I'm about halfway there. Unfortunately, I took a test in Baghdad, and it was 4 hours long. I commend you all for all the work that you all do, because it practically killed me. So leaving that test, I was actually grateful to go back to the mortar rounds, because that was much easier to deal with. So talk about positive reinforcement and punishers. Okay, so anyway, we learned all that. So let's go to the next slide. We learned about reinforcers. We learned about how to get the behaviors to continue over time, like we were talking about in this last segment, the whole frequency piece. And we did it through a system of tokens and whatnot. And in this particular situation, it was stretched out over several months. A particular behavior that we wanted to get foundational into her repertoire. And so thanks to Manny from Ice Age, and I was able to find an actual mammoth bone that came from Pennsylvania. We used that as a motivator, and she earned it. She actually has it in a case at home. So she earned a fossil of a mammoth, and that was a very rewarding thing that she was able to work for and achieve. So we learned about those things. It was CLM that really got us to that point. One thing I do want to just mention is that CLM is not just for autism or special needs. I use it every day with my colleagues at work. So I work for several very how would you say, needy generals, and so I have to help them help themselves. And so anyway, I try to reward their behavior with good work on my part, and then we muddle through and get to the activities that we need to get to. But enough about me. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Cynthia, and she will talk to you about the things that are important to us today. You have it there. Pardon our technical challenges.
Oh, you're doing quite well compared to some of us.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just looking for the page I start on. Okay. I just want to talk a little bit about using CLM today. The principles of the CLM model are easily adapted to different stages of a learner's journey. And today, what we're working with as a family is high-functioning ASD, sometimes called Asperger's. Individuals with high-functioning ASD tend to have challenges grasping humor, understanding figurative language, and grasping the unspoken rules of socializing. I can say that with the guiding principles of CLM, understanding the ABCs, reinforcement, and the importance of incremental changes, little changes, these challenges have successfully been met. I would almost say miraculously been met. In a few moments, you will see what I mean when Julia is able to present her slides about her life as a middle school student. These challenges, humor, figurative language, and the unspoken rules are exacerbated by the complex world of the preteen. I'm a middle school English teacher, and I teach at a very small private school, and it's the same school that Julia and Elizabeth attend. Julia just finished the 3rd grade, and Julia finished the 6th grade, and Elizabeth finished 3rd grade. There are just over 100 students there. And I teach part-time. I teach literature to the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And in fact, Julia was one of my students this past year. But whenever I mention to fellow educators that I teach middle school, I'm met with looks of sympathy and even looks of horror. And usually someone will say something like, "Oh, I would never teach that age group." So there seems to be a little bit of apprehension when you're dealing with the preteen. And indeed, it is a challenging time as kids grow taller than their teachers, and they fluctuate between being a child and being an adult. And each day is a little bit different. I mean, some days I'm talking to an adult, and the very next day, we have the kid again. It's a challenging time in people's lives. I'm sure we can all remember going through that ourselves. But I don't think I traded for anything, because even though it's a challenging time, I think it is one of the most fascinating times and age groups to teach because of this fluctuation. And you have to have a sense of humor. And I frequently laugh at all the things that happen at school. I can honestly say, as I said to Julia just this past week, that I use the CLM principles in my neurotypical middle school classes. And I can honestly say that it works. If I didn't have these principles that Vicki and others taught to all of us, I really think middle school would make mincemeat out of me. Every day I have to use some of these things. I'm always looking for the thing that motivates the students. Most of my students are neurotypical, but several of them do have ADHD, and I do have one who's dyslexic, and a lot of them are undiagnosed. So I think these are skills that any teacher, regardless of which classroom they're teaching, would find invaluable. CLM is for everyone. Perhaps educators and therapists may develop a program for all classrooms, for neurotypical classrooms, because I really have found it to be very, very valuable. Okay, now I wish to pass a talk on to Elizabeth, who has been a very active participant in this family journey. The siblings are critical, and they're part of the journey. I've talked about how effective CLM is in a middle school classroom, but what happens when siblings are exposed to the CLM model, and what happens when they're exposed at a very, very young age? We found the results to be very remarkable and really just an added blessing and benefit. And I just wanted, you can change to the next slide. I hope this video plays.
You can go to the next slide.
You can go to the next slide.
If you click on the picture there.
One unintended consequence was we had a little baby that was able to talk very early. Having attended all of our therapy sessions, it rubs off on the siblings, and it actually shocked us, and it shocked the therapy staff. Let's see, I just want to show you the sample.
Hopefully the sound will come on.
We'll see if it comes on. Oops, it may not. Let's see. Does it click? There you go.
Walking the children.
That's one of the results of Elizabeth at a very young age being exposed to the CLM model. It benefited the learner and the entire family. It just rubbed off. Okay, I want to now turn this over to Elizabeth, and she's going to talk a little bit about what being a sibling and some of her memories, and then she'll pass it on to Julia. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Elizabeth and I'm 9 years old. I finished 3rd grade, and here are some of the pictures of me and my sister. And in the first picture, that's just me and my sister outside of our house before summer starts. And the second picture is at school, is at church during vacation Bible school. And some of the teachers brought in bearded dragons. And the third picture is of me and my sister at the October Festival near where we live at our house on base. And I just wanted to say that it's been very remarkable growing up with my sister, and it's been really fun.
Is it working?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm Julia and I'm 12 years old. I just finished 6th grade at Christian Center School. I want to share a picture with you that illustrate my life as a middle school student. We have fun things like our spelling bee and the science fair. I did a joint project with my sister about the properties of salt for the science fair. Also, this is a picture of my classroom and some of my classmates. There are fun things like these, but also some challenges socializing with my peers. But I try to work on this. This is my karate cut. And so Elizabeth and I are earning our blue belts here. Now, this is us doing kata or karate exercises. and Sherman's Lagoon, I got inspired to write my own comic. My language class also helped me with my comic by teaching me proper English, spelling, and how not to plagiarize. I've traveled to places in California and to England. When I took my vacation to England, I spent 1 week in Oxford and the other week in the Lake District. I spent my free time studying about England and the family traditions there. I also ate new foods such as pea stew, and I got to feed ducks and swans. To conclude, I would like to thank Vicki, Tucci, Ruth, Kathy, Scudda, Jane Kim, and the CLM staff. Thank you. Before taking questions, I'd like to ask Vicki to come up for 1 minute.
It's very customary for officers and military members to have coins made. And so I had a coin with it's for excellence. And so on behalf of my family, I wanted to say thank you for the wonderful work that you've done in our family and for helping us on this great journey. So thank you. What we can do is we can take questions. If you have any questions that you would like to ask Julia, feel free to do so. And she's prepared to answer, maybe. Or maybe we can help. Or even to Lizzie, too.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Where were you able to locate services in Virginia?
That's a very good question.
Can you rephrase that then? Sorry.
Yes. Where were we able to find services in Virginia? And we can both tag team on this, but long and short of it, the TRICARE personnel, our case manager, if you will, gave me a list of ABA providers, certified CBA capable people supposedly in our area. So unfortunately, we went to one that was reputable, and they spent the next 6 months diagnosing and coming up with their plan. And then subsequently, all of the therapy team quit on him. And so applied behavior analysis really didn't happen. What did happen, though, is the learning that we received from Jane Kim and from Vicki herself, and of course, our tie-in with the CLM staff back in California, coaching from Kathy, that really got us through the nuances when we moved down to the DC area. Everywhere we went, every school, every private school that we went to, they all told us that they could not help us, that it was only through the public school system that if we wanted to get any kind of assistance. And so to get a therapy team was very difficult. It took us several years to get an occupational therapy team together, and then social therapy that we used up until January of this year. So it was quite challenging. And the other problem is that because we're from out of state, they are already ensconced into their own, their portfolio, if you will, if you want to call the kids and their training a portfolio. And so to bring in somebody new into the system was very challenging.
I think that really it was the virtual coaching by the CLM staff that transitioned us, and it was done with the computer and taking pictures in the classroom and conveying information from the classroom setting to the staff. That's what made us, helped it transition us.
We also had a wireless capability on the computer, so it went with us wherever we went into like a classroom setting. Obviously, we got permission to do that. But then we could show real time what the behaviors were, and of course, Nikki and Jane were able to coach us through some of the more difficult transition issues.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Yes,
When I grow up, I would like to be a teacher, and I would like to have a little library at home. Well, to tell you the truth, I'm not like 100% sure yet, but I'm pretty sure I'll be a doctor.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a question, but just a comment to Elizabeth and Julia. You've really made our day, and I know your parents are really proud of you. And we're from Virginia, so we're doubly proud. So thank you for coming to share with us.